Hey guys! It is your girl, Imantheoriginal. Once again, we're going to be talking about Cluttered. This is the American Dreaming series, and the subtitle is Cluttered. So we're going to be talking about cluttered spaces, cluttered minds, depression, anxiety, and all things that relate to mental wellness and the built environment when it comes to clutter, anxiety, and depression. So I'm going to get into a little bit about my story and who I am. And in the last episode, I talked about my focus for not only building and developing spaces, but just a little bit of what I've gone through with clutter. So I'm gonna read you some things that I have wrote, like some notes that I wrote. Growing up in clutter was the epitome of my major dysfunction. I hated my dirty ass house, no cap. I would not understand why my house lacked the stability and cleanliness of some of my peers' homes. I had the dysfunction and insecurity. It made me feel, along with the fact that I began to absorb these dysfunctional traits as well. Little did I know, this was a manifestation of depression operating in my sister's life. And then I talk about like mental wellness and sustainable design, depression and clutter. A cluttered space is usually a sign of a cluttered mind. A cluttered mind equals no space to think. A cluttered space equals no space to thrive. Have you ever watched an episode of Hoarders and thought, what the fuck? Imagine growing up in environments that look like I wrote something, I don't know what that says. It's something, but anyway, growing up in environments that look like that. What does that do to the early mind? I would like to use today's, so I had wrote this on a Thursday, so I would like to use today's Throwback Thursday to highlight, my something with depression and clutter. My relationship with depression and clutter and how I see sustainable design as a solution. Sustainable design is not only about building and developing physical things. In the field of sustainable design, there is also a strong emphasis on systems design. As a sustainable designer who acknowledges sustainability as an original practice, I want to think about systems. I'm always familiar. I'm already familiar with that. With that worked in a system. So okay, let me start over. Sustainability as an original practice. I want to think about systems I am already familiar with that worked in assisting people struggling with depression declutter their spaces. For those of us who are in our minds, aka thinkers, growing up in cluttered spaces can cause confusion, scattered thinking, and lack of discipline. Your mind can be cluttered with fear, doubt, unfinished ideas, self-sabotage, childhood traumas, and paranoia. So these are some things that I wrote because I just was led to write that, and I'm being pushed to now share and talk about that aspect of my life, which is cool because I was going to already, but now I guess now is the time. Because I was always infatuated with hoarders and all this types of stuff because I would always take pictures of like my clutter and like my room, and it's like, what the fuck? Look at this shit. It looks crazy. And I would not feel offended of it because it's just like, I know that it was literally a manifestation of the things that I was going on inwardly. So I would literally have no shame about it. And it's interesting in this society that we live in today where, we're constantly being, this society is fake as fuck. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. This shit is fake as fuck, okay? Niggas be out here talking about mental wellness, oh my God, health care and all this other shit, but then they'll sit there and fucking villainize your humanity. They'll villainize your depression. They'll villainize your anxiety. They'll use that shit against you and make you feel less than a human. And it's total fucking bullshit if you ask me, because it's just like, okay, clearly Who the fuck wants to live in a house filled with clutter? Nobody wants to live in a house filled with clutter. I know I don't. Some people, maybe they feel comfortable with that, but I know when I'm in a cluttered space, it overwhelms me. And when I'm living in my clutter in the midst of my space, it's overwhelming to me. And it's always an outward manifestation of what I'm going through inwardly, just as with anyone else, right? So when you think about an outward expression, because when we think about how things are made manifest, it first happens in the spiritual realm, or the unseen realm, if you will. It happens first in the unseen realm, and then it goes to the seen realm. So when a person is struggling with things inwardly, when they're struggling with depression, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, when they're feeling overthinking and stuff like that, then obviously they manifest that outwardly with clutter, with their space, with their environment. And that's why I like to promote the developing and the designing of spaces that where the built environment promotes mental wellness, because it's like, we live in spaces. Well, I'm from the hood. Like, I'm a Black woman, like, from Brooklyn. I'm currently living in the projects in Harlem. And it's like, when you look in our environments, we live in cluttered spaces. Everybody is living on top of each other. The fucking people upstairs, every time they fucking stomp, you hear that shit like as if we're living in the same fucking house. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. So it's just like, we all are going through like anxiety and depression, and it manifests itself in different ways. So going back to the issue of clutter, when it's like, when you see someone dealing with a lot of stuff, or carrying a lot of stuff, or having a lot of stuff, it's a manifestation, or just not even just a lot of stuff, or just like having stuff scattered everywhere, and it's just like, okay, I'll get to that tomorrow. Clearly it's because they're feeling overwhelmed. And it's like, what is making them feel overwhelmed? And what is it that's not right within their selves, that they can't do the basic things to assist themselves? Like, I've dealt with depression, I've dealt with anxiety, deal with depression, deal with anxiety. And it's like days, no, I don't have the energy to take a shower. I don't have the energy to brush my teeth. I don't have the energy to do this. I don't have the energy to do that. And it's like, okay, I don't have the energy to clean up my space because I'm feeling overwhelmed by the circumstances and the situations that are going on around me. And going back to this society is fucked up, because it's like, people promote all this bullshit, but people are fake as fuck, because they'll promote all this wellness shit and mental health, but then behind the scenes they're gossiping and talking shit about people like me who deal with clutter, who have dealt with dysfunctional households, who've dealt with, just all types of dysfunction. And it manifests in the ways in which I guess are not quote unquote normal to society. But it's like, it's normal to me if that's been normalized my whole life. You know what I mean? So who is to define what normal is? But we want to get to a place where things are functional. I can say that. Where things are sustainable, when things are functional. Because believe it or not, these same people who maybe villainize someone's humanity, they're manifesting their own inward clutter in different ways, whether that be addictive behaviors, being obsessed with things, obsessed with people, obsessed with places, obsessed with things. That's addictive behavior. When you're doing everything else, but you're not dealing with your own stuff, because that's a manifestation. It's like, oh, I'm not dealing with my stuff inwardly. So it's like, you have all this clutter going. You're not dealing with your stuff. You're not dealing with your stuff. So people don't deal with their stuff. So then they look at other people. Oh, well, that person is doing this. So it takes their minds off of their own stuff. And that's wild as well. And that's that's dysfunction, So we want to promote and develop and design spaces that are best suited for mental wellness, promoting spaces that will create beings that will operate in high function, that will function properly, in this world. I know that since I dealt with dysfunction, as you heard, what I wrote earlier, is just like, yeah, dysfunction manifests itself a lot in my life. And I'm in a stage where I am recreating myself as a sustainable designer, not like I said in the last episode, I have the certification and all that, but it's like I'm recreating sustainability within myself, because as an individual, I want to come to the collective as a sustainable individual. Like I'm sustained like within myself, meaning I'm doing the things that I want to do. I'm doing the things that I'm passionate about. I'm doing the things that are not killing my spirit. I'm doing the things that are not killing my energy, so that I can operate at my highest function. And that will then bring healing to the collective, because when we promote and create individuals that can function the way in which they were designed to function, then we can have a sustainable society. So, yeah. I just wanted to really touch on that, and even really just tap in on like, just that's not a sustainable system, guys. We'll create a system that is based on like lies and deception. When I say lies and deception, I'm talking about lies and deception of villainizing people's humanity. Using like, oh, I'm gonna smear you, I'm gonna tell everybody, oh, she's living, oh, she's doing that. Clearly there's an issue, clearly there's a problem. And the thing about life is like, who is covering their bullshit up the most? Who can put on the front the most? Who can hide their shit the most? Because one thing I know is that people always want to pull out people's skeletons, but the people that's pulling out people's skeletons, they're the ones who are hiding the most shit. They're the ones with the fucking eye scanner and the fucking fingerprint code to get into their closet, and got barbed wire and all types of shit, because they don't want nobody knowing the shit that they got going on. So this current society that we live in is not a sustainable one, because no one is being honest or truthful to who they are as individuals. So we're all just out here operating as fake ass people. And it's just like, how can we ever talk about, we sit here and then we go to podiums and say all these fucking speeches, and it's like, this shit is bullshit that we're speaking, because we're not being honest with ourselves, and we're not being honest with the collective, because we're sitting here gossiping about each other. We're sitting here villainizing each other's humanity. And it's like, if we're really about what we say we're about, then we will really be a part of a solution, a part of creating spaces where people feel comfortable to say, yo, I'm dealing with this. Or people hide shit all the time because people use embarrassment, or that people use your humanity. They weaponize your humanity. So how is that a sustainable society? How is that? How can anybody that says, oh, I'm about healthcare, or I'm about mental wellness, or I'm about anything, weaponize somebody's humanity? It doesn't make sense. So I can't even say make it make sense. I usually make it make sense, but it can't make sense because it doesn't. That's not sustainable. So anyway, that is, we're going to come to the conclusion of our episode of Cluttered, American Dreaming, the Cluttered series. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So stay tuned and we'll get more into it. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. Bye.